got a great guest with us today. Joins us live here on a broadcast, and Jett Blakk is an amazing group, and I am so happy we were able to chat with you today about the music industry and your music and everything. So talk to me about the writing process. What is that like when you guys sit down and write music and put that whole thing together?
It can be very fun, and it can be very frustrating. You sit down in a room with, your co-partner, who was my guitarist, Mr. Greg Tucker, a.k.a. Randy Black, and we sit down and just start hashing out ideas. I am a 14-time state medalist out of CMSU in vocal major, and so I'm involved very heavily in the structuring of the song process, and basically I write the lyrics and hum the melody to a guitar player, which in turn comes up with the riffs, and we sit there together and piece it together piece by piece until we feel that the structure is good from start to finish and that the song doesn't lose any dynamics from start to finish. We had done the first half of the album here in Kansas City at a studio called West End that's owned by Mr. Mike Miller, and Justin Mantooth was the engineer there.
Yes,
and he did a great job on the first half of the album. We realized we had some hits. That's when I contacted a Grammy Award-winning engineer and was invited to Nashville to recut those tracks because he felt like we had something.
That's fantastic. That is that is pretty damn amazing. Now,
it was just got a hope and a prayer and a whim,
Now, when you get a call like that, what the hell do you think?
Well, there's lots of things that run through your head, but in this business, you get promised the moon and the stars, and so at this point, I am always skeptical about everything, and I always hope for the best, but at the end of it all, you hope that you come through it okay. And it's just one of those situations that you go and you take advantage of, and you utilize what you can utilize out of it, and if a door closes on you, there's going to be another one that opens. So what I tell artists is don't give up. Just keep doing what you do and keep having faith, and, I think, that the Lord will light the way for those who persevere.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, what's been some criticisms that you've gotten on the music or feedback you've gotten on the music?
Overall, we've had great response on the album. Some people have said that they would like to see a little heavier album be written. And, so I think on album number 2, we're probably going to try to get a little heavier, a little edgier. But that being said, I really enjoy the songs that we wrote together. And, we're going to try to just stay true to, our songwriting, So I am going to, like I said, try to put a little heavier edge on the second album for the fans. And I don't foresee that being a problem. So, we got a bunch of talented guys in the group, and I think it's going to be a great second album, and I'm confident that I think we're going to make a top 100 this time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, what exactly, without revealing, too many of the behind the scenes, you've mentioned the songwriting and putting things together and going out and getting these produced and everything. What do you realistically have to do to accomplish that goal?
Well, it starts out with kind of pulling your money together first, because financially you've got to have, the funds to go into the studio and cut this stuff. Most of the time, I, as an artist, like to do it myself at this point because I don't want anybody trying to take control of my publishing or copyrights.
Yeah.
And so, you pick a studio out, you pick an engineer because you've got to have somebody that's got credibility in the music industry. Because if you don't, the album's not going to be what I call worthy of industry credit.
Okay.
Now, I can further explain that to you.
Yes.
But that's for starters.
Okay. Well, get into
I
a little bit and more details on that, because that sounds fascinating.
Okay. In more detail, let's say an A&R rep gets a demo from somebody. They're not expecting it, so guess where it's going to go?
Yes.
Right in the trash can.
Yes, indeed.
And it doesn't matter how talented, these guys were. The bottom line is this. If that demo comes in and doesn't have a recommended person behind it, it's not even going to be looked at. So in the industry, there's certain levels of, industry recording levels at which, if you just go to Joe Blow's studio that doesn't have all the kit and caboodle and the $1,000 Neve preamps and all the bells and whistles to, get the industry sounds, because there's industry standard sounds now in the industry.
Yeah.
So, from guitar amps to bass sounds to, just the licks being played. A lot of session players do most of the recording these days. And then you might have to hire a bunch of musicians to learn up those tunes and build a band behind it. So that's really how it's done.
Well, I'll tell you, that is, it has been a heck of a conversation today. I appreciate you making time for us today. Before we let you go, how do we find Jett Blakk? How do we listen to you guys? Everything.
Well, as I said, we are on jettblakk.com, jettblakk.com. That's our .com site. And then we also have a Facebook page that's fantastic. We're in the process of revamping the .com page, but the old one won't be taken down until the new one's put into place. So people can go there. They can request our merchandise. They can buy our album. They can download songs, singles, the whole album. We have fantastic merchandise. I think people, once they dig into this album, are really going to like it and will continue to follow Jett Blakk. So we appreciate all of our fans out there. We want to thank everyone, myself and Mr. Greg Tucker, a.k.a. Randy Black, who, like I said, was my co-writer of this album, and we appreciate all of our fans' support.
Well, one final thing that I want to get your thoughts on, and you mentioned the thing about thanking the fans. I remember way back in the day when we first started doing the TV show and interviewing bands and things, I would interview various bands. They would come through, and then they would come back through later. And they knew me, they remembered the interview, but they really were kind of hazy on the details of different things.
And, yeah.
And I completely understand that, because you guys are seeing,
right,
1 billion people on tour. You guys are recording with 1 billion different people.
Do you want my response to that?
Yes. Go ahead, because I want to have you give me.
I don't ever forget people that have stood behind us and supported us, and that's one thing. If I run into somebody that has interviewed me, or I did a show, because I've played with a lot of the big rock stars, and we've been direct support to Lynch Mob, Slaughter, Kix, Dangerous Toys, Tracy Guns, all the big boys.
Yeah.
And they're all very standoffish guys, and for me personally, it's kind of a turn-off to me. I like to be social with my fans. I like to be close with people. I don't like that I'm a rock star and we're better than you. I love my fans and appreciate them all, and I appreciate, the people that we talk to, the people that we interview with. and we were on Channel 4 Morning News Show. Mark Alford here in Kansas City interviewed us, and we loved all those people at Fox 4, and they still call and check in with us, and we're invited back to the TV program, and so I treat people like I want to be treated, and that's just human, man. Talk to people, socialize with them. Don't be standoffish. I'm the guy that's going to be standing around signing autographs until the last person leaves.
Well, and that brings me to the point that I was making, which is really I love that answer.
Thank you.
We did it when Tech Nine comes through the area constantly here in Wichita, and we do interviews and different things with him. And at one point we had I had done an interview with him, and I had one of my esteemed colleagues, as we'll say, Michael Game, with me, and he had been down, feeling down. He'd made various comments about suicide and killing himself and all sorts of different things. And then we ended up doing our interview with Tech Nine, and then afterwards they were just, BSing back and forth, and he mentioned that to him. Well, then Tech went on, one of those huge tours that he goes on, where he goes all over the United States and Canada and Europe and everything. And then on the way back through, they came back through Wichita before they headed back up to Kansas City. And we got ready to do, we did another interview with him. And I'm standing there getting all my gear, ready to go. And Mike's standing there, being Mike. And by this point, Mike's life has gotten a lot better. He's not talking suicide, all these things. His life has gotten amazingly better. And it's funny because Tech comes into the room and sees all these various people that are in there, and he blows past everybody, walks right over to Mike, grabs him by the shoulders, and goes, "How are you doing? I want to know how you are feeling."
That's class act stuff right there.
And
love it.
Mike was blown away by it, and I was kind of blown away by it because I'm like thinking, this guy has been all over the world, literally, back and forth, and now he's back in Wichita like 6 months later, and all of a sudden, the person that he thought of was Michael Game. And I thought that was so
We don't forget stuff like that, man.
I think
that's human stuff, man, right there, and that's the kind of stuff as artists, that when you're in a position to help somebody, and you're highly accessible to the public and people listen to your input, then that's really your objective as an artist. Is it's fun to play music, show off, and get your music out there, but helping people in the process, to me, is where it's at and why we are put in this position.
Well, I just was blown away by that because I'm like, this guy has been on the road every day, all the time, 24/7 for the last 6 months.
Yep.
And one of the things that he mentioned to Mike when he was there, it was like, I've thought about you all tour, and I wanted to make sure that we checked back in here, and I wanted to make sure to know how you are feeling. And he was like, fine, no big deal. And
I think that's so awesome, and I commend Tech. I think he's a class act dude, and that's just who Tech is.
Yeah.
And, I try to be the same.
Well, and that was the thing. You mentioned, you remember folks, you connect with people. Is it just you guys are made just a little bit differently than some of these guys, or?
Well, here's my thought process on that. We've had a little tougher time getting there than the rest of these guys.
Yeah.
Some of these guys have been handed the silver spoon and invited right into the music industry, where others of us have had to claw, scrape, and fight.
Yes, you've had to bust your ass to get in there.
Yes. And so that's what makes the difference is that, we as people have had to fight harder for what we've accomplished in the business. So I think the people that have to fight a little harder are the ones.
Well, I just think it's pretty damn amazing, and I appreciate you making time for us today. Thanks for coming on, and really enjoyed the